Well, hello, neighbor. It's me, Angie. Well, look what I have on. Yes, the same thing. I went live this morning, but I'm having to do my neighborhood chat video today because we're picking up my granddaughter Thursday, and I'm not going to be able to do it. So I decided to do my neighborhood chat video and have it posted for you all either tomorrow or Thursday. Uh, we had a good time on my live today. It was a fun time. We talked about a lot of different things. I missed you if you wasn't there. If you haven't come to one of my lives, I invite you to come over. Look at here, all this red lipstick. Um, Join in the live chat. Check out my channel. You're welcome. I'm very inclusive. But our neighborhood chat today is going to be about, and I hope I do this chat justice because this could hurt people's feelings or they could get real angry at me for talking about this subject because everybody handles what I'm about to talk about in a different way. And I don't think I'll step on toes, but if I do, please forgive me because that's not my intention. And I'm not here to judge anybody, to tell you how you're supposed to act, what you're supposed to do, what you're supposed to say, because we all live different lives. We all are at a different growing time in our life. We go through like a teenage years and young adult and in our 30s and 40s and 50s. And believe it or not, people that are in their 50s can still be a teenager emotionally. People in their 20s can still be a 10-year-old. People in their 40s can still be in their 20s. Just because you mature in years, like every year you get a year older, that does not mean you mature emotionally, spiritually. You can get stunted in your growth with any of those things. You have to open yourself up to change in order to grow. Most of the time, being able to grow is not staying in the same place. You have to move, and you have to learn, and you have to go through trials and tribulations and sadness and sorrow. But between those times, there's happy moments, uh, joyful moments, beautiful memories you make. It all comes together. The sad, the lonely, the happy, it all just comes together. Oh, I know by going to different chats and being friends with different people on YouTube that so many of them has dealt with grief. And I myself have dealt with it. And I want to tell you, you can grieve somebody that is still alive. You know, you can go through a relationship and it can be so devastating to you that you can actually grieve for that person and they're still walking around. I believe that. I've experienced that. So, they say there's different steps in grief, and I believe that. Um, I think there is denial, anger. Uh, I'm trying to remember all of them. I think at first you're in shock. Depression comes, and there's one more, and then there's fear. Acceptance. Oh, bargaining. You go through the steps of bargaining. Uh, you can get caught up in one of those steps and not move on. But I will say this, there's no time limit for grieving. Don't ever let anybody make you feel less than or make you feel like you need to move on when you grieve. Anybody that does that obviously has never really grieved somebody, or they are in denial, um, which would be the first step. We all handle grief in different ways. There should be no judgment when it comes to somebody grieving. Now, I would have to say, and I've never experienced this, but I would have to say losing a child would be the hardest grief that most people would have to endure. At least one of the hardest. If you're, have a spouse, that has got to be hard too. I mean, no grief is easy. I mean, we each have to go through the steps. And you can't push somebody into the next step. You've got to let them work through it as an individual, because it's dangerous when you try to push someone to get over grieving. Now, I say when I've lost someone that I've actually went through each step that I just gave you all. Now, there were times that I wanted to stay in each stage. The denial, like this didn't happen. I need to go back to yesterday because this hadn't really happened. How did this happen? Why did this happen? When your loved one passes away. And then you go through the next stage, which is anger. And look, there's no time limit on denial. Let's get that straight right now. I'm not putting a time limit on any of these steps. After you go through the denial, guess what happens? You, most of the time, get angry. You're mad because you don't understand it. You don't know why. And when my brother passed away, my son was 7 months old, and my brother was 18 months younger than myself. And we were in our 20s. And when he passed away, I had a lot of guilt about why wasn't it me? Why wasn't it him? Because I had been married, he had not. I had had a child, he had not experienced having a child. He had not even started living yet. I actually was like, why wasn't it me? I mean, he didn't even get to experience anything. So I was angry about that he was not going to get to experience what I had already experienced at a young age, not knowing now that I'm 50, almost 56, what he really did not get to do. So I get through the denial. My only brother passed away. Then you get angry at why. Why did this happen? He was so young. Why? I don't understand. But I never really got mad at God about it. I had a lot of questions. And I hurt so bad. My heart was just, if you've never really had grief for somebody, it's hard to explain the pain that your heart actually feels, that you can't contain crying. It just happens. I can remember going down the road sometimes after my brother passed away and just start crying, and just one little thing would make me just cry. And then I started looking at the moments that we did have together and thanking the Lord that I had him around me for as long as we did, and that he knew that I loved him, and I knew that he loved me. That's the most important thing when somebody, you know, when you're close to somebody, you got to tell them that you love them. You got to let them know that they're appreciated and you care about them. You know, you never know when something's going to happen. Like I said, then I got angry. And then I went to the bargaining stage of, well, you know, God, I'll do this if you do this. You know, if you give me my brother back, I'll do such and such. And, you know, especially if there's someone that's still alive that you're grieving, you start bargaining. You know, I can be a better person if I just let them know that, you know, this happened and we can make up for this. But once a relationship is severed, and I mean severed, like something has just really happened that all trust is lost. And sometimes people just walk away and you don't even know why. And you're grieving for that friendship, that relationship, you know, whatever. And you start bargaining about how you would change and how you would do this and how you would do that. Now, again, there's no limit at how long you stay, but just keep moving through each stage. All right, you had denial, anger, bargaining, and then comes depression. You get really depressed because you realize there's nothing you can do, nothing that's going to change what's happened. Even if you got the person back that's still walking around, that the friendship or relationship or whatever was shattered, number one, you're not going to ever trust that person again. Number two, you're going to be so hurt that you're not going to feel the same toward that person at all. Because what you knew before the friendship or relationship was shattered, or the person that passed away, is never going to be like it was. Everything has just changed. You know, when my brother passed away, I was in shock. My husband and I were in Louisiana. Matt was 7 months old. We get a phone call. I thought they were telling me that my grandfather passed away. I never dreamed they were going to tell me my brother. And I just sat down on the couch where James and I were in Louisiana, and I said, I'm not going. And he's getting mad in the car, and Matt's 7 months old and all that. He kept saying, Angie, come on, we got to go. And I said, no, I'm not going. You know, I don't want to go. And this is the first time I'd ever experienced, like, close death within my family. And he got everything together, and then finally he said, you got to get in the car. So I get in, we start going, and we come to the exit of Amite, Louisiana, where his grandmother lived. We were deeper into Louisiana. And I said, pull over, pull over. He said, what's wrong? I said, take me by your grandma's. He said, why? I said, because I'm staying there. I don't want to go. I can't face this. I can't do it. He's like, Angie, you've got to do it. It's like, I can't. So we finally get here back to Mississippi, and I was just in shock. I could not believe it's happening. And I think that's the first thing that happens to you when someone passes away. You just get this numb feeling of just, especially when a tragedy happens and it's unexpected. No death is good for the person that's left behind. But, you know, you go through all these stages. You want the person to come back. You know, that's one thing that we humans cannot get over about death, because we want the person back with us because we love them so much, and we want to, especially a child. You know, my son just went through surgery a few weeks ago, and the thing, it never bothers me about being in a wheelchair until one of my children, I may start crying, but one of my children go through something, and I can't get in the car and go where they are. Well, I never think about it until, and I know he's 32 years old, has a wife and a child, but I wanted to be there. Now, could I have done anything if something would have happened? No, but I wanted to be there with him, and I couldn't, and it broke my heart. Same way with my daughter when she had her surgery a few years ago. I could not get in my car and drive to them. I don't care how old your child gets. You want to be there when they go through something. So what did I do? I stayed home, prayed, and asked God to take care of him, keep him safe. Told his wife to text me when they were going to the hospital, when they took him back to surgery, when he went into recovery, to let me know. But I'm here to tell you, as a parent, you feel like that your job, and it is to protect your child, especially mothers. We have that maternal instinct of, like having to just take care of them. And so when we don't have them, which I can't imagine, and my heart goes out to anybody that's ever, ever, ever experienced that. My heart breaks for you. I can't imagine. The last stage, and I don't know, it could take years for you to get here. It took me years to get to grief in certain relationships and deaths in the family. Now, when my grandmother and grandfather passed away, they were in their 70s and 80s. And they had lived a good life. And yes, I grieved them. I was so sad that they left. But actually, my grandfather passed away 2 weeks after my brother. And I actually felt guilty because I didn't grieve my grandfather like I grieved my brother. But I look back on my grandfather's life and I realized he had children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. My grandmother was the same way. I knew where they were going. I knew they were in a better place. My grandfather had suffered so long in a nursing home. And my grandmother, her dying wish was to go like that. And she did. She walked out of one room into another. Boop, she was gone. And that seemed tragic at the time, but that's merciful. She didn't have to suffer at all. But them being older, I knew that, life is short. You get to that jumping off place, So you kind of miss that person and you grieve them. But when a young person passes away, like my brother did, it took me longer to grieve him than my grandparents. I don't know if y'all have ever experienced anything like that or not. But I'm telling you, grief is not easy. Be kind to people that are grieving and talk about the loved one that's passed away. Like my brother-in-law that passed away. My sister was in her 30s. There were 14 years difference in their age. I think he had turned 50. She was pregnant with her second child. She wanted us to talk about him. She wanted to keep his memory alive. But we were all so devastated. My children thought of him as like a grandfather to them. Because my oldest sister, they didn't have children for a long time. And they treated my children like their children. And after he passed away, my son walked in his sleep for 2 weeks. Got me up one night and said, Mama, can you go and sleep in my bed? Let me sleep with Daddy. He was so afraid that his daddy was going to pass away like his uncle had passed away. And my daughter grieved him. When they were young, that was the first death that they had experienced. a close death. But don't ever judge people for the way they grieve. And people that are grieving sometimes can't talk about it. They can't tell you how they feel because they don't know. They don't have words for the pain that they're feeling. Don't avoid them. Don't avoid people that are grieving. Don't judge them for not moving in the way that you think they need to move. Because until you walked in somebody's shoes, you don't know. You don't know what they're going through. And you can't read their mind. But I'm here to tell you, I love each and every one of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I know that if you've lived as long as I have, that you've grieved somebody. You've honestly went through that pain. And I know someday somebody's going to grieve me. So, I just hope that we can love each other more. And remember, we're not here forever. And be nice, especially on YouTube. Don't be manipulative, mean, vindictive. What does that bring? That brings nothing but sadness. And that can bring grief also. There's different types of grief. I know this has been a sad topic today, neighbor, but I just want you to understand that people that are going through you can grieve a job that you've had for years that they just walk in and tell you, you get out of here, we don't need you anymore. You're too old for this job. You can grieve a pet that you had for years. There's a lot of things you can grieve. And one is not greater than the other because what we are grieving is what was so special to us and what we love so much. But let's help carry each other through it and love each other through it and understand each other through it. Because if we live long enough, we're going to grieve somebody else. I love you, neighbors. It's been a good talk today. Remember, like, share, subscribe, ring that bell so you'll know the next time I'm coming to you with a video. Share me out. Until I see you again. Bye.